Yo, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet Violet VGC video. I'm your host, Jose Rocks, and today I'm doing something a little bit different for December. So we do know that on the rank ladder, I did think that the rank ladder for Regulation J was 3 months, but it turns out it's actually 4 months. And I personally just don't want to do another month of Regulation J. I was a little bit burnt out from it. I did make 5 teams, but I wasn't in love with them, and I felt like I could have some more fun making some Reg F teams, since Reg F is the new tournament regulation for like in-person tournaments and like the global challenge and stuff like that. So if you do want to play those global challenges, or you do want to play in an in-person tournament, then you can use these teams. I will be showcasing them in global challenges and like off tournaments that people are hosting and stuff like that for Regulation F, and like ladder tournaments, limitless tournaments online. So that's when you'll see me feature these teams for the month of December, and I'll post some content with these teams, right? But we won't be posting any more Regulation J content. We won't be posting any games on the ladder. I will still be playing off camera, so if you guys run into me on the ladder, feel free to play your artists. I'll still be playing it in case you guys are still playing Regulation J. And I do have some teams that I made, but I just decided not to use them. But we're gonna go ahead and go all in with the Regulation F content. Regulation F is probably the last format, and Regulation J as well, until further notice, because there's no end date on Regulation I that was just announced for January. That's what the rank ladders will be, Regulation I, and there's no end date. So I'm guessing that we're going to be going into Champions following both of the ending of Regulation F and Regulation I, or like midway through, or it might be cut short for Champions, right? That's just my personal thoughts. So this is going to be our first team for Regulation F that we're featuring. All of these teams are brand new teams. These are not teams that I carried over from Regulation F when it was previously out. I took the liberty of making all of these teams. I took a lot of the cores from my Regulation J and reworked them and made them into kind of Reg F teams, kept some of the same pieces, but got rid of the restricteds and replaced them with different core, right? So that's pretty much what these teams are, and that's how they came to be, and they are pretty strong. So you can use these teams in best of 3, and you can also use them in best of 1. There has some text for best of 1. They also have some good consistencies for regulation for best of 3 and like tournaments, limitless tournaments, in-person tournaments. So you can use them for either one. The first team is going to be ChimpaDozo team. This team is very reminiscent of the team that I hit rank number 1 with in Regulation E. It features, of course, the Chimpa, Dragonite, Tatsugiri, and Dozo. The changes are Entei and Fluttermane. Those slots were Ogerpon Grass in the Fluttermane slot, and a Choice Scarf and Fernape in the Entei slot. So this team is really fun in my opinion. It's very hyper offense and wins games very fast. It's super strong, and I am going to feature this team. This is one of my favorite teams. It's a rework of one of my favorite all-time favorite teams, because Infernape is my favorite Mon, and I was able to hit rank number 1 with it. So in retroactively, it is like my favorite team. Of course, it's missing Infernape, but I think in Regulation F, Entei is a lot stronger than Infernape, and we kind of want to give you some teams that you can actually take on the ladder. Well, not the ladder, but in-person tournaments or limitless tournaments, global challenge, and actually get some wins and do well with it, right? So the idea behind this team is Dozo just pretty much is like an in-game mon, or you can use it as an early game mon to clean up with Chimpa, Dragonite. Either way, this team does a good job at cleaning up for each other and covering for each other. Chimpa with the Throat Chop and Sucker Punch hits the ghost types that Dragonite can't hit, and the steel types, but Dragonite still does massive damage to steel types. Throat Chop plus extreme speed is able to KO pretty much any steel type. If it's Godingo, then you can just Throat Chop it. If it Terras and it gets hit by E-Speed. Same with Entei. Entei pressures Godingo. Pressures just a lot of things. The steel types in the format. And Fluttermane and Chimpa pressure those ghost types that get around Dragonite, right? And then this makes the game a lot easier for Dozo in the end game. Both Tatsugiri and Dozo are Terra Steel. I found that Terra Steel is really good for like Clear Smog Amoonguss. Like you just completely wall out Amoonguss with the Dozo set. And Tatsugiri, since Fluttermane is so common in this format, you will be in a lot of end games to where Tatsugiri has to 1v1 with Muddy Water against Fluttermane, and having the Steel Terra just gives you an option. You could go with like Terra Poison too. I initially had the Terra Poison, but I felt like Terra Steel was a lot better because it just offers Tatsugiri a lot more resistance into things like Rillaboom's Grassy Glide and wood hammers too. So it's just a really good mon. The Entei is just really strong. This Flutter Mane is very offensive. There's enough bulk on this Flutter Mane to survive the Surging Strikes from Urshifu. So just keep that in mind. It can survive that without having the sun up. So I make sure I calculate that way in case you're in some scenarios where Flutter Mane doesn't have the booster energy, whether you switch it out or Urshifu's on Tailwind, you can just return the KO with Moonblast, especially if it's not Focus Sash, right? So this is just really cool, and I really like this team. It's very hard to stop. It's very offensive, has answers into pretty much everything, and just gives you a lot of options. So this is the way I like to play Dozo is kind of like hyper offense. I'm not really a stalled Dozo player. That's why you never really see. I do make a lot of Dozo teams because I do like the archetype, and I try to do one at least every regulation. But I never really do these stall Dozo teams because I just think that hyper offense Dozo is the better way to play it, right? It just gives your opponents less opportunities to kind of corner Dozo, and that's what this team does a good job of preventing. But we'll go into a full breakdown with this team once we feature it too. All right, there's a Rentalz up at the top right as well as a Pokepaste down in the description below. All right, so next we're going to be featuring a Snow Articuno team. So this team actually won like a regional back in the previous, I think it was Regulation F. It was really strong and really fun to play with. So I thought of making my own creation of this Snow team. Some of those teams were like Choice Specs Articuno. Some of them, were like Choice Scarf Ninetales. But we went with something a little bit more consistent. Blizzard and Freeze Dry just gives you, ice coverage. Freezing things is just so powerful in this format. With the Bright Powder and Snow Cloak, Articuno is very hard to hit, and with Terra Ice, you're actually able to do a decent amount of damage to everything, and you start chipping them down. If you get any freezes, then it becomes really bad for your opponents, right? Because the Urshifu and the Ogerpon and the Blood Moon can really take advantage of mons being frozen. The Ninetales with Aurora Veil just gives you extra coverage. Since we're not running Protect, I put Covert Cloak on the Ninetales. This just allows you to be able to encore things in case they like go for a fake out. They can't like swap. They can't really pressure Ninetales. They can't fake you out and then attack to get around the Aurora Veil. Aurora Veil is always going to go up unless they try to taunt you with like Prankster Taunt, but then if they Prankster Taunt you with like a Tornadus or a Whimsicott, they're just taking Blizzard damage from like Articuno or if you just click Blizzard with Ninetales, right? So it becomes really bad for you, and if they set up Tailwind, you can just, or they try to like get rid of your weather or like a Sunny Day or Rain Dance, you can just encore them into that, immediately read that, and then they're just pressured because now they're forced to switch, right? And you can still click Blizzard without the snow. You can also click Freeze Dry, Moonblast. You have a lot of different options, right? So that just makes this Ninetales set like really fun in my opinion. The Water Terra specifically to get around Urshifu, which I expect Urshifu Water to be one of the main mons of the format. And Urshifu Surging Strikes can kind of crit through the Aurora Veil as well as the Snow Boost. Articuno can already take Surging Strikes, but we want Ninetales to be able to take it pretty well too, since we are max speed on this Ninetales to take advantage of the Aurora Veil and the Encore. So that's the reason for the Water Terra. Choice Scarf, Urshifu Standard, Adamant, Water Urshifu. Cleanup Mon does really good against the fire types that resist the ice type damage. Ogerpon is there for the steel types that resist the ice type damage, and also is pressuring with Grassy Glide and Priority with the Rillaboom. They combo really well with the Grassy Glide from both of them. Double Grassy Glide from both of them is able to pick up a lot of KOs on different things. Of course, the Fire Turn Rillaboom is just standard Rillaboom set. Also will have horsepower to help you against things like Incineroar in case you're in the end game where you need to hit it. And the Ursaluna Blood Moon. So this is something that was inspired by a Ursaluna Blood Moon set from Regulation H. That's like the Electric Terra Yawn Blood Moon with leftovers, right? Which pairs really well with Grassy Surge from Rillaboom. But this format, Electric Terra is not that good as a defensive Terra in this format because there is a lot of ground types running around, especially like Landorus Eye, and that really pressures the Ursaluna, right? So even though we do have the Poison Terra just gives you a lot of defensive coverage into a lot of different mons that are in this format. Like Landorus still can hit you, right? But I think that Electric Terra just doesn't give you enough resistances into a lot of things in the format. And I think Poison Terra just being able to, resist fighting type coverage from Urshifu that's going to be coming out, resisting poison coverage from resisting grass, which comes out for Rillaboom. It's just a really good defensive Terra that I felt like is really good for this Ursaluna. And it plays a lot of the ways that the other Ursaluna plays. Like, of course, if Landorus really doesn't like to come out against his team, you have Urshifu that can outspeed it, because Landorus is really the only thing that pressures Poison Terra, right? Unless it's like Side Spam, which Rillaboom deals with Side Spam too, right? So you got the Articuno that pressures the Landorus and the Urshifu, and also Rillaboom pressures it with Grass type damage and Grassy Glide. So, and Ogerpon has enough speed to outspeed any max speed timid Landorus. So we have good answers to that. And just like screens up with Yawn and Grassy Surge and leftovers makes this Ursaluna very hard to deal with, especially in end games where they only have 2 mons left and you're putting things to sleep. So that's the idea behind the Blood Moon. It's just like a late game win con. You don't really want to bring it early game because they can just switch out from the Yawns. And the Articunos and Ninetales and the Ogerpons, Rillaboos in the world do a good job at being the early game Pokemon. But that's it for a breakdown of this team. I think this team is really cool, and it's just my take on Articuno and Snow. There is a rental code up at the top right, as well as a Pokepaste down in the description below. All right, next we have Entei Sun. So this is going to be a manual Sun team. I did see that Torkoal has a little bit of popularity in this format, but not too much. And I think that Torkoal having to switch into Sun or get Trick Room up kind of makes it a liability with so much offense coming out from like Urshifus, the Ogerpons of the world, Landorus, just a lot of hyper offense, Raging Bolts, a lot of powerful mons in the format. And I think that manual Sun works a lot better. And this Whimsicott is just really annoying for your opponents because they can't switch in their Pelipers, they can't switch in their Rains. If they try to go for like Rain Dance on a Torn, you can just Encore them into that. And Sunny Day, also you can just get rid of their Rain, right? I don't expect Torn to be an issue for this team because you have the Raging Bolt, like Torn Urshifu. You have the Raging Bolt. You also have the Entei with Grass Terra. So it makes it really hard for Urshifu to thrive into this team, especially with the Sun up. And that's the idea behind it. So it's a hyper offense Sun team. Choice Band Entei, Sacred Fire in the Sun is just super offensive. It's able to clean through a lot of teams. You have E-Speed and Stumpy Tantrum for coverage in case you need to go for that into like an Incineroar, or E-Speed into an end game where you can pick off things that are already low from the Flutter Mane or the Urshifu dealing a lot of damage. Flutter Mane is going to be choice specs, of course, also with enough bulk outside of Sun to survive certain strikes. Other than that, you're going to be dealing massive amounts of damage with the Flutter Mane and be able to pick up a lot of different KOs, right? Especially playing against Whimsicott, you can't fake out that lead and just go for, Moonblast in the Sun, or you go for, Encore if they try to protect in front of it, and you just pressure a lot of things. The Raging Bolt also does massive amounts of damage with Magnet plus the Sun being up, and also Electric Terror. Like your electric type coverage is the only thing it's missing is like Electric Terrain or like a Chi-Yu next to it, Electric Terrain up. But other than that, it's like it has all the boosts that it needs to just deal massive amounts of damage to everything, and it's just really hard to deal with. It really makes hard to play Rain into this team when you have the Grass Terror Entei plus the Raging Bolt. And also the Urshifu is just a really good in-game cleaner. With the Focus Sash, you have to hit it twice with a certain move. You can't knock it out with Surge Strikes because we have some investment into the defense. So it's just a really good in-game cleaner of mine. And then Incineroar just helps you against like Amoonguss, anything that wants to play against the Trick Room modes. It gives you your Trick Room matchup because you can fake out Parting Shot, Electric Terror, Raging Bolt, and you're just playing the Trick Room from there. So it helps you with the Trick Room core. But that's gonna be it for a breakdown with this team. It actually is going to be, the Flutter Mane should not have Protect. It should be Energy Ball, but we're gonna get that changed, or I might just leave it on there because Protect just because it was initially a different Flutter Mane set, but we might just leave it on there, right? Protect just gives you an option that you can go for Protect and switch out, so they can't double into your Flutter Mane, right? I've seen Protect run on a couple different choice spec set, and we don't honestly need anything else for that, so I'd probably just leave it there. You probably rarely click it, but it does give you some options in the starting out Trick Room, and you can like Protect Flutter Mane, then switch it out when your opponent might not be expecting that, right? So it is really cool in my opinion to play for that mode. But that's gonna be it. There's a rental code up the top right, as well as a Pokepaste down in the description below. Alright, so now we have a Ursaluna Balance team, Trick Room team, and this also features, the Incineroar, Urshifu, Rillaboom core, which is good on any team, and then you also have Amoonguss and Frigoraph Ursaluna Trick Room mode. So the idea of this team is just get up Trick Room if you can. You don't necessarily have to. You can play with their Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Amoonguss Incineroar core, and that's also can help you win a lot of games. And then you have your Trick Room core with Frigoraph kind of plays like your King piece, and is able to deal a lot of damage on the Trick Room, right? This Incineroar has enough, is underspeeds the Frigoraph, so on the Trick Room, you can go for the fun play of knock off into like Assault Vest mons, and then go for a Hyper Voice or a Psychic, and to be able to deal more damage with your Frigoraph against those Assault Vest mons that kind of resist it, especially things like Iron Hands, which carries the Assault Vest. It just makes it easier to deal with those mons. The Ghost Terror helps Incineroar just get around Ghost type damage. Poison Terror is also a really good defensive terror on Ursaluna. And we have our side spam matchup because you run into a psychic team, a side spam team with Friggraph, Rillaboom, and Cineroar. It makes it really hard for those teams. So this makes the Ursaluna with the poison type just very strong. Substitute punishes passive play, especially on the Trick Room when they try to protect around it. Getting Ursaluna a substitute up just makes it that much more threatening because that means you can't just not one-hit KO it with a super effective move. Also, with having Terror as substitute, it just makes Ursaluna just a massive threat so that it can operate outside the Trick Room as well. The Amogus is very good for best of 3 and best of 1. Best of 3 your pressures your opponent because they can't fake it out. You have a guaranteed spore into something unless it's like switching like Grass Terror, Safety Goggles, or Grass type, or they have Taunt, right? And if they don't have any of those, you kind of get like guaranteed spores into slots, which can be game winning, like getting a Trick Room or getting your Urshifu in a position to attack something that's sleeping, or also the Rillaboom that has a lot of offensive investment so that you can pick up KOs with Wood Hammer. So they're all really cool in my opinion. They're very powerful. This is a very powerful Trick Room team, very consistent. The Fire Terror on the Friggraph is specifically to go against like Flutter Mane and Chi-Yu, so they can't blow you up turn 1 with like Dazzling Gleam plus Heat Wave. And if they like Terror the Chi-Yu into Ghost, of course you can't fake that out. You can't redirect it with Amogus. And so that's the Fire Terror helps you get around that. It also survives like a Dark type attack plus a Fairy type attack if they go for that too, because you have a lot of special defense investment. So this team is really strong. Protect on Friggraph is also really strong because a lot of times your opponent doubles into that slot, and then you can just get like a parting shot out or into your Rillaboom or get a spore off with Amogus. And it's just a very good, consistent team. And also with the Urshifu being Choice Scarf means that you have an in-game cleaner, and you don't necessarily always have to play towards a Trick Room mode. But that's going to be it for a breakdown with this team. We're going to also feature all of these teams. There's a rental code up in the top right, as well as a Pokepaste down in the description below. All right, last but not least, we have the Urshifu Rain team. I wanted to also feature a Rain team. I think that Rain is really strong with Landers in the format. The core of Urshifu, Tornadus, and Landers is really strong, and I added on some Rain members that can help. Incineroar with Safety Goggles helps against, posing Amogus being annoying. If they get the sun up, also just takes advantage of the sun. And this team really doesn't, outside of like hitting it with Tornadus, Urshifu does not like Rocky Helmet Amogus. Landers, it's okay into the Amogus matchup, but with outside of Rain, Incineroar just helps you deal with Amogus. Other than that, this Incineroar is just a perfect fit for the Rain team because it just deals with a lot of things that they don't like to deal with. The Articuno, it's still to be seen how good it's going to be in Regulation F. I don't remember if it was I remember it was good in, I think it was in Regulation E that it was introduced. I think it was used some in Regulation F, but we're going to give it a try here. It was, of course, it's a beast in Regulation H, and we went with the Power Herbs 30 set. This just makes it so this team necessarily doesn't have to play inside of Rain, but Rain just benefits this team, right? We have manual Rain, so we're not stuck just using it, but when we have it, it's like an option, right? But the team can clearly function without it. Landers with the Sandseer is very powerful, especially in the Rain, being able to hit both targets with a powerful ground type move. It's just so threatening, right? And then Arachnid just gives you really good coverage, opposing like Bleak Winds, opposing like Eruptions from like Torkoal and the Trick Room, opposing Sandseer Storms from Landers, Make It Rain for Gordingo. Wagguard is still really good in this format, so I decided to keep it on there instead of something like Substitute. This is also, with Least Life, you're really good into the Rillaboom. With the Fairy Terror, you're just immune to Dragon type coverage, which I feel like may come out some. And I didn't really have another good Terror to use. We could have probably went with Water Terror too, but it's already on the Urshifu. And I just felt like there may be some situations where you can go for the Fairy Terror against like a Raging Bolt if they're, predicting you to defensively Terror into something else. It's just a neutral Terror for it, just in case you have some end games. I don't expect it to Terror a lot on this team. You're more so going to be Terroring the Landers, Articuno, and Urshifu. And of course, the Incineroar and Tornadus Terrors are in specific situations. So it's just pretty much a neutral Terror for Arachnid, but there is a lot of Dragon coverage in the format. So it could be good into things like that, especially like also Walking Wake, which can be good into this team as well. And Liquidation just does massive amounts of damage in the Rain with Water Bubble. You're really good into like Fire types, as well as Arachnid, the Rocky Helmet, being able to switch into opposing Urshifu so they can't take advantage of your Rain, and they can't like Surge and Strike your Landorus or your Incineroar or your Tornadus without threatening like a switch in from the Arachnid. So it's really cool in my opinion, and it really does pressure a lot. This team is really hyper offensive, fun in the Rain. You can switch some sets around. Like I said, you can swap out Arachnid for another Water Mon like Basculesian. but I feel like Reckoner helps with the Trick Room matchup. You can also make Articuno Stamina instead with like Snarl and other things. There's a lot of different things you can do, but that set is more so relying on rain. This one could play outside of rain, right? And it doesn't get pressure. It doesn't get punished for them switching in like a Torkoal or having like manual Sun from like a Whimsicott or like a Murkrow. So this team is really fun. It pressures a lot, has really hyper offense. I think Ursus Flalanders are the stars of this team, and everything else kind of supports them. But there is a rental code up at the top right, as well as a Pokepaste down in the description below. Let me know with a comment what you guys think about this. If you think, if you like that I'm shifting away from the Regulation J content to give you some Regulation F teams. I know we didn't make any teams for Regulation H, but I kind of just was playing that in-person tournaments and was focused on competitive and competing. But I am going to get back into pushing my content out because I think Regulation F is really fun. I do like it. It's a fresh format, and I'm kind of interested to try some of these teams out. So that's going to incentivize me to feature these teams. So I'll be playing some Regulation F, so you'll see the content on here. And leave a like if you guys like my battle content videos too. If you guys missed those, if you want more of those to come back to the channel, or if you are more of a fan of the rental teams, or if you like both. Either way, let me know in the comment below what you guys think about these teams, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay tuned. More new videos soon. Deuces.